Hello, and welcome to Go Fund This, a podcast from Nerds Domain. In these episodes, we'll be talking to crowdfund project managers about their projects and what excites them. Come listen as we talk about the passion they have for their project.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Go Fund This. It's been a little bit of time, but we are back to talk with James Wylder. Hi, James.
Hi.
About your book that's on Kickstarter now. It is 10,000 Dawns, Poor Man's Iliad, Volume 1. It's a sci-fi anthology.
Yes.
A lot to talk about here. Before we get into those questions about the Kickstarter specifically, we have some kind of vetting questions here to make sure that you're as nerdy as you claim to be.
Oh my gosh.
They're tough. So first question, in the impending zombie apocalypse, what is your weapon of choice?
Ooh, my weapon of choice. I feel like getting distance is always a good thing there.
Distance? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so getting stereotypical probably a gun that wouldn't break down very easily. Maybe like a 1911 style thing. Something reliable.
Something reliable.
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to always, get parts. You get something really fancy that's going to just like blow zombies up everywhere. But
right.
Something a little practical.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. That's a good answer. Second question. Given all the sci-fi you know,
yes,
what planet do you want to most visit?
Ooh.
This is really important since it's a sci-fi anthology. Like, this is going to be important.
Oh, my first instinct is to say Gallifrey, but they are kind of really stuck up there. It might not actually be that fun to visit.
Right.
It's my first instinct, but actually, that in Star Trek the original series, they visit this pleasure planet where their fantasies kind of come to life over the course of the planet.
It's like an amusement park that's been out of use for a while.
Yeah, that actually would be really fun to visit.
Yeah.
I'd love to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds fantastic. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's get into your project. What exactly is A Poor Man's Odyssey? What does it tie into? What is 10,000 Dawns? And why are you doing this?
Okay, so 10,000 Dawns, Poor Man's Iliad, it's, like you said, a big sci-fi anthology, and it's all part of the 10,000 Dawns project, which is something I've been working on for...
10,000 Dawns?
Yeah, basically.
For a while.
Yeah, years and years. Some of the stories in this book predate the idea that this was going to be a big project. It was kind of just going to be a few stories some friends and I in college had been working on together, based of all things on some characters we've been role-playing together. Yes,
Okay.
It started as role-playing fics. And eventually, we kind of started realizing that we were just going really far away from any territory that had been set up like in the world of like this RPG we were in. And, we just veered onto left field. And we decided, okay, we have these characters who are actually really interesting. They're supporting stories that are good stories rather than just being role-playing characters who are fun to role-play but can't, sustain a narrative.
Right.
Which I've fallen in love with plenty of role-playing characters in
Right,
my time.
absolutely.
And then you think, oh, this is going to make like a great story, and you try to get down and start writing about it, and you're like, oh no, this actually just doesn't translate down to
absolutely.
the page. And this did.
Okay.
And so, we started working on some stories, and eventually I was working on a fic for like this game, and I realized that like while I was writing it, that had nothing to do with just anything remotely like this, and I'm like, I should just cut the cord, especially because the story is nearly like the length of a novel at this point.
Okay.
Because I probably should have not put that much time into it. And that story actually ended up becoming the second 10,000 Dawns novel we released, which is called Death and Doubling Cubes. But we decided then we were going to take these characters, we're going to take the things that we liked and make our own universe around them. which meant naturally that we had to abandon like, anything that like these characters might have had attached to like other realities and that sort of thing, because we're not thieves.
Right.
So we were like, all right, we've got to build a new universe from scratch. So we started doing that, which then led to this whole project of Poor Man's Iliad. Because we first started just trying to take our characters and like barrel in right in.
Okay.
Did not work. Did not work at all. Basically, everyone just like, if you weren't trying, if you weren't getting a little too attached to ideas from like, this game that we'd been running, then people were also just going, oh, well, then it's generic sci-fi.
Yeah.
And instead, it was just like really, really obvious common things that like you'd think would be in every piece of sci-fi.
Okay.
It was kind of bland. So I just had to like put a break on it and go, let's go back and let's figure out like what's the history of this universe now? How did we get to a point where all of these characters and events that we want to have happen, all these ideas we came up with ourselves, would get them there?
Okay.
So we started building up from there, and then we came up with this anthology, which is like the length of a Game of Thrones novel, and is quite something.
Okay. And so the book itself is already written? Like you've gotten chapters from everyone and it's set and ready to go?
Yeah, we're still fiddling with it. We might add a few things just to like, even the stories out, but it's nearly all written.
Okay.
You could read it now from start to finish and, have something, but
okay, excellent.
yeah.
So this obviously is not your first writing project yourself.
No.
Tell us a little bit about Arc Beatle Press, which is your imprint. What else have you put out from them, and kind of what is your background in writing?
Oh, okay. So, my background in writing kind of starts professionally with, of all things, theater.
Okay.
The first professional piece of writing was a play I wrote called Kryptos, which I wrote for a class in college, and my professor liked it enough. He bought the rights to put it on for me and put it on. And I mean, that was pretty cool.
Right on, yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, when I graduated college, I put out my first Arc Beatle Press book, which was a collection of my best poetry up to that point. That was called Cascade. And from there on, I kind of started putting out just the plays that I'd written. So Arc Beatle Press has, my 2 full-length plays, all my short plays, as well as a collection of my short stories, my first 2 novels, which are both 10,000 Dawns novels, and the most popular book I've written, which was a Doctor Who poetry book.
Yeah, An Eloquence of Time and Space.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your website. I don't actually know that off the top of my head. No, I know that you had done the poetry for Doctor Who, which I think is fantastic. It's nice to see something so popular taken in a different view. So that's great. So you've been writing for a while now.
Yeah,
Excellent.
for about, I guess if you count from when Kryptos was put on, 7 years now. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter itself, it's been up for right about a week, just a little under a week, right?
Just a little, about exactly a week.
Okay.
Yeah, last Thursday, so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or, no, it's Friday. I'm
Yeah,
all
today's
messed
Friday.
up.
That's
8
all right.
days. It's been up for 8 days.
Your original goal was $500, which you have already passed
Yeah.
pretty easily. You've got over 3 weeks to go still.
Yeah.
So what else can we expect to see? A lot of Kickstarters have stretch goals. What are you looking at to do to go beyond your original plan?
Yeah, so the most obvious thing, which is the first stretch goal, which we're trying to work on right now, is probably the most obvious thing from an anthology, adding a few more short stories.
Okay.
We've got one in the works now from Michael Robertson. He's a writer from Scotland. He's the creator of 2 little sci-fi series on the internet, Once Upon a Future and John Boss, which are serialized short stories.
Okay.
They're pretty cool. And he's going to write us a story if we meet this next stretch goal. Then after that, we have a option on the Kickstarter where you can get a print by the cover artist, Brie Pie. And if we get the stretch goal after that, then every person who gets one of those prints will get a second print by the first artist who ever worked on 10,000 Dawns, this artist from Canada named Danny Zhu.
Okay, excellent. And then a couple more, add a little bit to the book and that kind of stuff. The thing that I really noticed was that to get in on this is inexpensive. I normally say cheap. Cheap sounds bad.
Yeah.
Inexpensive. $5 you get the ebook, which
Yeah.
Even if you don't have something to read that on, I mean, your phone will do it. So $5 for a book, period, is relatively good, especially small press where it's a little bit harder to publish that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then it just goes up from there. But you can get the book $5, and I think that's a great starting spot. I think it's better than a lot of Kickstarters that I see.
Oh, thanks.
So
yeah, it was kind of important to me to have that base goal so low because it's a really long book, which means the print version, I mean, it's going to be a quality book, but it's $30 for the base book because it has to be.
Right.
It's going to be the longest book I've ever put out. So.
Right. And you've got a large handful of authors that are already on board. Tim Sutton, Nathan Butler, Simon Butcher Jones. I'm terrible with pronunciation, so I'm going to get
Simon
somebody.
Butcher Jones, yeah.
Eric Asher, Kylie Leanne. I mean, the list is pretty solid here. People that have stuff that's already out and can be found pretty easily, but not huge names that would. You're getting a chance to showcase smaller publishers and smaller writers so that they get a chance to really work in the same space and put their own spin on it.
Yeah,
which I think is fantastic. So yeah, this is your anthology after the 2 novels. So you got 2 full-length novels already, which you can back and get with a couple of the levels. I saw that you just get a bunch of extra books. Why not? What beyond this Kickstarter are you looking at with 10,000 Dawns?
Well, as you see from the title, Volume 1,
right?
There's going to be a Volume 2.
Okay.
And in fact, Volume 2 is also nearly complete. We came to a point writing it where we realized that we just made too much. Their book if we'd published it all in one thing, the print would have had to be Bible size to meet any printer we could work with.
Right.
Page limits.
Yeah.
So we decided to stop again, put the brakes on it, rework it.
Okay.
And it's going to be in 2 volumes that will tell this story all the way through. And then after that, we already have what comes after Poor Man's Iliad planned out. There's going to be another anthology. We've got Joe Smiley, who's one of the writers on this anthology.
Okay.
She's working on a trilogy of books. They are. And I've got my own things in the works as well, more novels too.
Excellent.
Excellent.
And then you yourself do some other projects as well, some podcasting. You're currently working on Tales from the Blue Box, by the Blue Box, by the Blue
Tales by the Blue Light.
Oh, close. Tales and Blue. I had it.
Yeah. Just mumble it.
Yeah, Tales from the Light, something.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's a live show that I've been working on with my producers, Rob Southgate and Chris Mao, and it's a show where every month I write 3 new short stories along with a bunch of skits and a little radio play, and we perform it live at the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin, Illinois. It's a lot of fun. It's all new material, and I mean, it's everything I like about both performing live in front of an audience, but also getting to write lots of cool speculative fiction every month.
Okay.
Because it's the 3 stories are one's fantasy, one's horror, one's sci-fi.
Okay.
So every month there's a new one of those. We have a lot of episodes of it kind of in the bag because we've been waiting to kind of drop them at once.
Right.
So people can binge them. That's going to be coming pretty soon. I don't know the date yet, but it's supposed to be before the end of the month.
Well, and keep an eye on our Twitter feed because I'm sure when that gets announced, we'll retweet it because that's going to be part of the network. So I don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah.
But definitely that sounds fantastic. I'm actually looking forward to listening to that myself. So the book's ready. It's just a matter of now that it's funded, you're set and ready to go. and you've got some other stuff coming up. I will definitely be backing this. I'll probably just get the ebook. I like reading ebooks.
Yeah.
They're way easier. But I highly suggest that our listeners at least check it out. If nothing else, you're helping support small press, which I always like to do. That's kind of top of my list of things that I like to do for books. But even if you just want to buy a $5 book, like this might be the way to go. Anything else that I might have missed? You will be at Indie PopCon. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, go.
You're going to be at Indie PopCon selling your books and have a space there. I'm not sure where that's at, even though I have it in my email because they don't ever tell us where we're located until later.
Cool.
But you will definitely be there under the Southgate Media Nerds Domain banner, kind of sharing that space with us.
Nice.
So that's coming up in June 8th, 9th, and 10th. So definitely we'll catch you there. Are you going to be at any other conventions?
Yes, though I haven't signed on the dotted line for a lot of them because I've been so busy getting this ready. I plan to be at a lot of my usual conventions, like In Conjunction here in Indy, Console Room, and Hoolanta, but we'll see. I might have waited a little too long just trying to get all this stuff with the book together, so we'll see.
Right on.
Yeah.
And then the Blue Box, obviously, they can catch you the Blue Box.
Third weekend of every month.
There you go. And I love the Blue Box personally. Their food is great. I'm told their coffee is great. I don't drink coffee, so I'm just going to assume that Rob Southgate knows what he's talking about.
Okay, that's the thing that surprised me the first time I went there is how good the food was. Because I was like, oh, it's a Doctor Who cafe. That's going to be cool. I like Doctor Who, but I was expecting it was going to be kitschy.
Yeah.
And then the food was actually really, really good, which was just like really surprising in the best way.
Absolutely. And I've been very happy to check that out every time we've been up there, the 3 or 4 times we've been up there for recording. So we can find you on Twitter at Arc Beatle. That's Beatle like the Beatles.
Yes.
And then you're over at facebook.com/Arc Beatle Press.
Yes.
And then jameswylder.com is your website where you can find all of your writing stuff and buy your previous stuff there if you don't get it through the Kickstarter. And then we're going to have a shortened link to the Kickstarter in the show notes, so check that out. Normally I give that out, but Bitly has changed how they do it. So, I mean, I could tell you, but it's not going to be memorable. It's just a garble of numbers and letters. So, anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah. So, let me talk a little bit about like what the storyline of the book is.
Yeah, let's touch on that.
Yeah. So, I'm not going to like give things away en masse here.
No.
But basically, so this anthology, it was kind of inspired by, of all things, reading role-playing books.
Okay.
In that you sometimes, you'll read that, or when you're like reading a novel and there's a huge bit of backstory in it.
Okay.
And you read like, wow, this is kind of amazing. I wish I could read this. And then you like actually think about how someone would have to write it and structure it, and you'd go, well, that really couldn't be like very easily made into like a full series. Maybe it's just like, a series of little events that someone wrote down that would all be a ton of short stories. And I thought about that and I was like, oh, well,
it could be a ton of short stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is some connective tissue between it all. It goes over the course of most of the book. There are some parts that are set before this, but most of the book takes place over about 20 years.
Okay.
And it follows loosely these 2 friends named Zhang Han and Cornelia Carthage, who are members of the Centro military. Centro is this big corporation that's bought basically the whole solar system in the future. And they are both really big idealists, but in very different ways. And you get to watch their friendship form and then get to see how this plays out with events all across the solar system at a personal level, and then see how these things impact other people, see how their choices, hurt and help different people. And while you have this focus on them to center it like at an emotional level, it's also not just on them, and you get to see other perspectives and how things play out.
Okay.
So you kind of get the best of both worlds in it. It's not just dry reading, like, this happened to them, that happened to them. I think people are going to care about these people and what's happening to them. But at the same time, it's a lot more expansive than just that. So I think people will get to look forward to both of those things.
Excellent. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm
Oh, it's
so
cool,
used
it's
to
cool.
like, I tell people, and I don't think that I prompted you with that. Like, oh, this is gonna be 15 minutes, so like you don't have to spend a lot of time like taking yourself away from the project or anything else. So,
Gotcha.
but no, that's great. I actually like that. That sounds. Yeah, you're right. Oftentimes I'm reading role playing game. I'm like, this would be kind of cool as a story, but it's just a bunch of short stories, or just like
Yeah.
a page and a half. Like this
Mhm.
is all the information that's really there that doesn't ruin or spoil the whole thing. So that's great. I like it. All right. Well, I think that will do it
Yeah.
for Go Fund This. I always forget the name of the podcast I'm on. So you guys can find us, as always, all of our normal places, and we will talk to you sometime soon.
And that'll do us tonight for Go Fund This, a podcast from Nerds Domain. Remember, you can email us at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or find us on facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter @nerdsdomain, or over at our site at nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We want to thank Jarby McCoy for our music. Don't forget, you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain and check out our shirts at slashloot.com.